The dynamic system we are focusing on is the optic tectum of an owl. The optic tectum is a small peanut-sized portion of the owl's midbrain. The owl takes auditory and visual inputs produced by prey to adjust motor responses to find its location. Owls are nocturnal, so most of the time they only depend on auditory inputs. This allows them to hunt even when there is zero visual stimuli. The optic tectum takes into account the time delay in between auditory inputs into each ear of the owl to calculate the left-right position of prey. Some species of owl have their ear canals pointing in different directions so they can take into account the intensity of sound coming into their ears, allowing the owl to calculate the up-down position of prey. The optic tectum runs off of a feedback loop dependent on time differentials and amplitude differences of the two ears to adjust its motor responses.
When hunting, the owl spends the majority of its time gliding. With that, we have made the assumption that the equations of motion of the owl can be approximated with the equations of motion for an aircraft. When tracking its prey, the relative velocity and relative acceleration equations of motion are at play since both the owl's and prey's frames of reference are non-inertial. To navigate through the air, the owl alters its yaw, pitch, and roll in respect to the ECI frame. With this kind of motion, the equation of motion that calculates Euler rates is at play. Because the owl experiences drag, it will slow down and ultimately require some kind of thrust force in order to keep it gliding through the air. This thrust is generated by the owl flapping its wings.
For the dynamic system, the inputs are auditory and visual. The control of the system is a PD controller. The derivative part of the controller takes into account the time difference of the auditory inputs coming from each ear. With that, the owl can pinpoint where the prey is in respect to its frame. When the time difference is 0, the owl knows it's heading in the right direction. If the ear canal pointing downwards picks up a higher sound amplitude, the proportional part of the controller allows the owl to determine when the prey is below it. The feedback loop is continuous and updates with new measurements. The optic tectum will keep doing this until the owl reaches its prey.